for letting me do it.
Om Aganatimanandasyang Ganagana Salaka Chaksurun Miritam Yanatashmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanyamanovistam Stapitam Yanabhutare Sayam Rupa Karamayam Darati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Siyata Parakamanam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Sirupam Sagadatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sajevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Larita Shivishakhan Vitam Stam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinu Bandhu Jigapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Surito Pango Mamadir Matirgati Matsavasha Param Boja Radha Madana Monam Sriman Rasarasaram Vibham Sivana Karsan Benasanupaka Gopinata Sri Saram Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumada Srimad Ratnagara Shimashanishto Sri Sri Radha Shira Govinda Prasadavihi Seva Manushmanami Namo Brahmane Devaya Go Brahmani Taya Chajigaditaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Mangalam Bhagavan Vishnu Mangalam Gururaja Mangalam Paririkaksho Mangalayatano Hari Om Narayanaya Vidmahi Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tano Vishnu Prachodayate Om Mahadevi Chavidmahi Vishnu Padniti Dhimahi Tano Lakshmi Prachodayate Mahalakshmi Namastubhyam Sare Sari Hari Pare Namastubhyam Namastimayo Niriram Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhavindavaneshwari Vishabhanusute Devi Pranamani Hari Priye Namao Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Shamita Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesa Sunyavadi Praskata Desatarine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thanks for joining us on Wisdom Wednesday. And this is the 9th segment in a series which will go down in history under the title #No Fear or Fearlessness. It's a topic that is very relishable. There's a lot you can say about the difference between a fearful life and fearless life, and we have risen to the challenge. I think we have said a lot. This will be the 9th 45-minute segment, and we're ending the week with a bang because we can't think on so many levels. The best example of fearlessness is the 5-year-old son of Hiranyakashipu, Prahlad Maharaj. So let me read the verse here and then we'll talk more about Prahlad. We've entitled this segment Impudent Prahlad. If you review the quotes of Hiranyakashipu in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam over and over and over again, he calls his son impudent. And we'll look at why he continually comes back to this word over and over again in just a moment. Our verse is 22nd verse from the 7th chapter of the 1st canto of the Bhagavatam. Krishna Krishna Mahabahu Bhaktan Mabhyankaro Tamego Danyamon Rapavargo Sisamsaram. It's Arjuna speaking to Lord Krishna. He says, "Oh my Lord Krishna, you are the almighty personality of Godhead. There's no limit to your different energies. Therefore, only you are competent to instill fearlessness in the hearts of your devotees. Everyone in the flames of material desires, miseries can find path of liberation in you only." So let's go back to this main theme that Krishna is Mahabaho. He's mighty armed. When we talk about someone being mighty armed or someone describes themselves as mighty armed, it means they're well capable of providing protection. It means that even though others may come at you, others may charge you, others may throw weapons at you, others may castigate you, others may seek to do you in. When you have as your protector your big brother, doesn't matter what other bullies your age are there on the block, your big brother is twice their age and twice their size. And so even though you don't have the strength to fight the bullies, mano a mano, get down there and duke it out with them, the bullies are going to give you a wide berth because they know that if they touch you, your brother is going to come and call them to account for that. They're going to get a good whooping if they so much as lay a finger on you. So Hiranyakashipu thinks of himself as Mahabaho. After all, he's probably got good reason to do so, because he's never been defeated in battle. He's defeated many of the servants of Vishnu, in fact, Varuna and Chandra, Vayu, Kubera. So if it says the servant reflects the power of the master. If the servant, when Vijaya and Vijaya insulted the four Kumaras, Lord Krishna immediately came out and he said, their insult is my insult. I am reflected, I am represented by them. So however they behave themselves, then I take the full responsibility for that. And so Hiranyakashipu is basically saying that I have conquered the universe, and I have conquered the servants of Vishnu. So in his mind, Vishnu is not that great. He was able to conquer those who attained their posts of universal power and authority by the grace of Vishnu, and he had defeated all of those. So the next logical thing was to take on Vishnu. The problem was he couldn't find Vishnu. He couldn't locate Vishnu, because Vishnu's in the hearts of every living being. And Hiranyakashipu's constant refrain was, come out, stop hiding, you coward, come out. So he not only, in his mind, had minimized the stature of Vishnu, but he also thought of him as, scared of him, afraid to come out from within the hearts of the devotees. So then he has a son, and every father wants to project his own ambitions, his own desires on his son. Every father wants to have his son follow in his footsteps. Every father looks forward to, lives for, in fact, passing on all that the father has learned to the son, so that the son can come up to the level of the father and then surpass the father. There's nothing a father likes better than to think of their son going further than them. I don't know what could be done above and beyond conquering the universe, but anyway, this is the ambition in the hearts of every father. And so Hiranyakashipu, naturally, as fathers do, doted on his son. But he doted on his son for reasons of selfishness. He wanted his son to follow in his footsteps. He wanted his son to carry on, perpetuate, and expand the glory of his name, the glory of his dynasty. So he wasn't really giving the son freedom to act as an individual, separate and independent. He wanted the son to go in lockstep. He wanted the son, and so many fathers are the same, there's no difference. They want the son to goose step according to their marching orders. And so there's nothing, by the same token, more frustrating than a father to have a son who totally disregards his instructions, marches under the orders of someone else. And again, whatever Prahlad is hearing in his head, it's hidden. It's something that Hiranyakashipu is very used to identifying his enemies. He's very used to seeing his enemies. He's very used to calling them out. He's very used to confronting them, having man-to-man combat and defeating them. So he's very frustrated that there's something going on in the head of his 5-year-old son. His son is subordinating himself to someone whom he calls supreme, but Hiranyakashipu can't hear him and he can't see him. He wants the cards to be put on the table. He doesn't want the cards to be hidden close to the chest. He would call himself a straight up guy, a forthright guy. What you see is what you get. So there's no end to Hiranyakashipu's frustration. And you have to admit that if you're the head of the demons and everybody is your sycophant, everybody is your yes man, everybody reinforces the idea that you're the greatest, you're the best, you're the smartest, You're the most powerful. You're the king. You're God. Hiranyakashipu, you're God. That's what you're used to. And there isn't a single discordant note in your entire dynasty. And then you get your own son who will not listen to you, who will take every opportunity to contradict you, who will go behind your back in the school during the recess to preach Krishna consciousness to his schoolmates. And at first you try to deal with him with love. Oh, he's just a foolish boy. It's a phase. He'll get over it. And so you put him on your lap and you smell his head and you speak soothingly and friendlily. Prad, I know that you've got the DNA of demons, and some or other the enemy has brainwashed you, but I'm putting you in a good school. I'm giving you the best teachers. Nanda and Sunanda are the sons of Sukracharya, the guru of the demons. I'm paying $1,000 a week for your tuition, sending you to the demon version of Andover, Exeter, and Lawrenceville to get your head straight again. Utah is interesting because Utah has a lot of schools for youth who have gotten into trouble and who come from wealthy families. And so often we get tours from different institutions that are based in Utah and to whom wealthy families from Greenwich and Connecticut, Short Hills in New Jersey, Chicago, Beverly Hills in California, they send their kids. Kids might have a drug problem, and so they send their kids to Utah for wilderness hiking or for rehab programs or special. And these institutions are very costly. They're like thousands and thousands of dollars a week, not a month, you see. And the hope of the parent is that the child will get cleaned up and get with the program. So as far as Hiranyakashipu is concerned, he would rather Prahlad be on drugs than be a devotee. And a lot of parents are like that. If their son is living in a Hare Krishna temple, not taking drugs, alcohol, and not engaging in illicit sex, not eating meat, and he's in bed at 9 o'clock at night, that really bothers a lot of parents. They would almost rather not know where their children are at 11 o'clock at night than to know that they're in bed in a Hare Krishna temple. So similarly, it really, as far as Hiranyakashipu was concerned, Prahlad was off. He was a dropout. He was going to be a loser. And Hiranyakashipu's attitude was, no son of mine is going to be a loser. And to that end, he got the best tutors. He got the best private school. He got the best curriculum. He put a lot of resources. And again, being a materialist, what Hiranyakashipu values is the almighty dollar. That's what he values. That's what he worships. And so he's spending a lot of those almighty rupees to rectify his son. And rather than his son turning around, softening up, showing signs of surrender, his son is digging in his heels even further. His son seems to be day by day by day getting stronger, getting more impudent, overruling more and more and more the power of the father to guide his own son. And why does a father have a son if not to train that child in his own image and to instill in that child his own ambitions and to have his child walk in his own path? You see, every father daydreams at night of their son being a bigger and better version of themselves. So there's nothing more frustrating than to have your son not care for your instructions. That a father takes that personally. In the conversation between Devyani and Yayati, I think it's in the 9th canto of the Bhagavatam, the statement is made that the son is the father coming through the mother. In other words, the mother was compared, now I'm not, this isn't politically correct or politically, I'm just stating what's there in the Bhagavatam, okay? That the Father reappears through the mother, through the sheath of the mother as the son. So the father is the son. So the ego of the father is more expressed, the selfishness, the ambitions of the father are more expressed. He projects them more on the son than he does on himself. And so there's nothing that the father takes more personally than having the son disregard him and disregard his instructions. And really what Prahlad was doing was, Prahlad's lips were curling. Prahlad felt revulsion. You know, when Hiranyakashipu would sit him on his lap and tell him about all the money that he could have and all the influence that he could have, all the sovereignty that he could have, all the girls that he could have, all the horses that he could have, all the people that they would be bowing. It's almost like Christ, you know, going up on the mountain, you know, Satan saying you can have all of this and you can have all of this and you can have all of this. All you need to do is surrender to me. So this is, you know, Prahlad's schooling period, and the period of time in which his father was still polite to him and offering him rewards for capitulation. It's very much like Christ's time with Satan up on the mountain. You know, Satan, all Satan asked was just, you know, okay, you know, Satan wasn't even asking Christ to change his ideas. He was just asking him to keep it quiet, to keep a low profile. He says, okay, I don't want to mess with your ideas. I don't want to mess with your priorities, but do you have to be so impudent about it? And that's what really is the issue. Do you have to be so aggressive about worshiping Vishnu? Why don't you worship privately? Religion, after all, is a private individual affair. Has anyone ever heard anybody say that? You can't impose your religion on me. Religion is individual and is private. And so you can imagine Hiranyakashipu trying to persuade Prahlad with the same line of reasoning. Prahlad, okay, all right. If that's what you want, that's what you can have. But don't flaunt it. Don't wave it in front. This is a city of demons. We're materialists. We got where we are today through the materialistic approach to life, and we don't care about, we don't want to hear. As far as we're concerned, the kind of things you're teaching, snowflake, are the kind of things that are going to weaken our hard dynasty, the kind of things that are going to destroy us and rot us from within. You know, we're hard, we're tough, we're merciless, we're cruel, and those are the qualities it takes to get ahead in this world. Kindness, compassion, concern for others, they have no use. They have no practical, efficient use in a well-organized society. So I guess you might say that Hiranyakashipu's last ditch of defense is saying, Prahlad, at least don't rub it in. Don't intentionally go out of your way to push our buttons, okay? You're going to be king eventually. When you're king and I'm gone, you can do whatever you want. So until then, smarten up, Prahlad. Smarten up, you know? Just keep a low profile. Keep it individual. Keep it quiet. Don't rub it. Don't raise your flag. Don't agitate everybody around you. Cool it. Chill, Prahlad. Your time will come. But Prahlad, Maya Sukhayo Param Vimudha, Prahlad didn't want people to suffer. He didn't want to bide his time, during which duration people would suffer birth, death, disease, and old age, get more and more involved. He felt his duty as a devotee of Lord Vishnu was to speak out, just as his duty as a devotee of Vishnu was to follow the orders of Lord Vishnu exclusively. You can't do both. This is an interesting quote, which we find in the 7th canto of Bhagavatam, the Prahlad Bhajan. Deyastu sarvasangado jigatu atrivamikado neti neti atachayam. It describes we have 3 bodies. We have the physical body, which is like the overcoat. On a winter's day, you wear an overcoat. and that's like the physical body. And then you have your shirt, which is like the psychic body, the mental body, and then you have your spiritual body. So every one of us in this material world has three bodies. One is our real eternal body or real eternal self, and the other two are coverings, more or less like a shirt and a coat. Everybody has to decide who they are, what body they want to identify with. Either you think of yourself physically in terms of nationality, ethnicity, gender, or you think of yourself mentally or psychically as a philosopher, as an intellectual, as a professor, as a teacher, or you think of yourself Nityasiddha Krishna Prema Sadhukarinaya, as a servant of Krishna. Now you can't be diplomatic in these areas. You can't try to please everybody. You have to make a choice. Door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3. And if you choose Vishnu, if you choose to be true to yourself, and if you choose to capitalize this human form of life for the purpose for which you're created of self-realization, then you're not going to take orders from people whose priority is the body or the mind. And that's Prahlad's stand. He's not going to, his fidelity, his loyalty is to Lord Vishnu, who is the soul of his soul. You see, it says, Atma Atmaranam Datta Swayam Sashaya Shambhushi. Krishna is the soul of the soul. So if you care about yourself, if you're actually selfish in the highest, most fulfilling sense of the word, if you care about your soul, then of course you're going to care about the soul of the soul. If you have self-love, you got to have Krishna love along that self-love, because Krishna is in the heart of your heart. However, what gravitates against that, what dulls that, what takes that off the table is love of the body or love of the mind, because you can't do three things simultaneously. You can only love either your physical body or your mental body or your spiritual self, and you have to make a choice. When you choose to cater to the whims of the physical body and the mind, then you can't understand who Prahlad is, you can't understand what he's talking about, and you can't understand where he's coming from. All Hiranyakashipu sees is this child is impudent. That's the word that comes back to him over and over again. He's impudent. He says, you're a nonsense. Everything you have to gain. I can give you the universe. I love you. All you have to do is just take your school courses, go along with the program, and there's nothing which will not be available at your fingertips in due course of time. So if you're not interested in that, if you reject that, there's no good reason for that. It's just impotence. It's just willfulness. It's just you're only trying to make me feel bad. That's all. You're just trying to get at me. That's all. And how personally does Hiranyakashipu takes this like that? So he says, this kind, Vyaktam Tamarjaka Yotimatanam, you're so impudent. This kind of talk is nonsense. There's only one type of people who will reject the ability of the Father to rule over them, and those are those who want to goad the Father to the point of killing their own son. And so typically a materialist, Hiranyakashipu is not going to take the blame. He's not going to take the responsibility for his actions. He's going to say, Prahlad made me do it, because he wouldn't compromise. He absolutely stuck steadfastly, unflinchingly, unbudgingly to the path of self-realization as a servant of Krishna. He wouldn't budge from that. He wouldn't compromise. He wouldn't stray. That means his only focus is to repudiate me. That's all he's really doing here. That's all that's I can't see Vishnu. I can't hear Vishnu. This is just like Harvey the rabbit. Prahlad has made him up in order to challenge me. And how can a 5-year-old boy challenge his father, who's Lord of the universe, in that way? Publicly humiliate his father in front of his generals and soldiers. And how can I allow him to live? Prahlad made me do it. Consider the whole deck of cards, the whole arrangement, the whole phantasmagoria of power, influence, sovereignty is so fragile. It all depends upon everybody's being struck in their hearts with fear of Hiranyakashipu. He rules by fear, not factually, but he rules by intimidation and fear. And so Hiranyakashipu, basically, Prahlad is striking at the very heart of his empire. If his generals, his soldiers, his sycophants see Prahlad mouthing off impudently to his father, then what will they not do to bring his father down? What conspiracies will there not be? What betrayals will there not be? So Prahlad is the very seed of dissension, the very seed of destruction, according to Hiranyakashipu. And you have to admit, there's a lot of consistency and there's a lot of insight in what Hiranyakashipu is seeing. It's not untrue. But the problem is, because he's chosen the body to identify with, he can't understand how it is that Vishnu is in the most minute, and how it is that Vishnu is in the biggest, and how it is that although Vishnu is Anurayam Shamanushmaram, he guides the smallest and he guides the biggest. He's within the atom and he's the universal form. At the same time, he's apart from this material creation. He stands separate. So none of those subtle spiritual sublime truths are visible, comprehensible by Hiranyakashipu, because you can't identify with the body and at the same time understand the things of the soul. And similarly, Prahlad Maharaj, because he's right in the middle of self-realization and worshiping Krishna, he can't understand. He's equally blind to the priorities of his father. You know, he's in the best school with his tutors are the sons of Sukracharya. There are no better tutors anywhere in the universe, more persuasive, more glib speakers or persuaders or convincers or communicators. His school friends are all born in the family of demons. They're all there to learn diplomacy and martial arts and warfare. And first chance Prahlad gets during recess, he gets all of his schoolmates out by the soccer field or the cross-country course, or the gym, or wherever it is. He says, "Ko ti presho sarabakara pasani siri shashamana shamana kimyo parashan." He says, "Why are you worshiping this body? Why are you working so hard just for some sense gratification? I mean, you guys are the sons of your fathers. You see your fathers every day. You see where your fathers are at. You know your fathers are not happy. You know they're not fulfilled. And your fathers want you to follow in their path. So why should you do that? Why should you follow in the path of your fathers? Because right now you can very plainly see that if you do everything your fathers are telling you to do and everything your teachers are going to do, you're going to be in 50 years' time where your fathers are now, which is frustrated, going through a midlife crisis, not having any real purpose and meaning in life, not jumping out of bed in the beginning of the day excited about their future. It's the same old, chewing the chewed, same old temporary sense gratification, which can never satisfy the inner self. It says, speaking to the inner self, why don't you just worship Krishna? Come on, let's take this recess time and use it profitably to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. What do we understand here? Prahlad doesn't get it. It's like Hiranyakashipu doesn't get Prahlad. Prahlad doesn't get his father. There's a huge disconnect. Krishna describes this in the Bhagavad Gita. What is night for the materialist is day for the spiritualist. What is night for the spiritualist is day for the materialist. Ne'er the twain shall meet. And so there's a real problem here between father and son. In his frustration, being totally enraged, you see, and embarrassed also in front of, his constituency, at the point of literally cracking, Hiranyakashipu yells to Prahlad, Krodas yasha kampane, Treya lovka saheswaram, tasya me bitaram muda, sasaram kimbarotaga. Prahlad, you rascal, you ingrate, you loser, Krodas yasha kampate. Look around. Look around. Open your eyes, boy. What do you see? You see that when I'm angry, all the demigods tremble in fear, along with their chief rulers, with their generals and their armies. When I am angry, everybody in the universe gets on edge. When I raise my eyebrows with displeasure and look in the direction of Indra, Chandra, Vaya, Karuna, Kuvera, they find a place to hide. So why is it that you look me in the eye, you stare me down, and you impotently reject my advice, which is meant for your well-being? I love you, Prahlad. I'm not going to tell you to do anything that's bad for you. Now, in parentheses, between the lines, we say, I'm not going to tell you anything that's good for your soul, but I'll tell you all things that are good for your body, which are bad for your soul, which ultimately are bad for you. By whose power has a rascal like you become so impudent that you appear fearless and overstep my power to rule you? It really seems like Prahlad wants to die. He won't back down. He won't compromise. He won't soften his stand. He repeatedly embarrasses and insults his father in front of his father's constituency. So Hiranyakashipu wants to know, by whose power can a 5-year-old boy stand up to and stare down even? Now remember, when Hiranyakashipu looks and raises his eyebrows with his red, he doesn't even talk about bringing his full two-eyed gaze to bear. He's just talking about looking out of the corner of one eye, raising one eyebrow in the direction of a demigod like Indra and Brahma, and they're immediately reduced to a nervous wreck. Now this 5-year-old Prahlad not only is not reduced to a nervous wreck when one raised eyebrow of his father comes to rest upon him, but when his father is looking him in the eye with two eyes, his eyes red and his fists clenched, his breathing coming quickly, raising his voice, shouting and yelling, Prahlad looks him back in the eye, stares him down, in fact, in front of, in public, no less. So Hiranyakashipu was like, ah! By whose power do you stand up to me? By whose power do you stare me down? By whose power do you get the confidence that your Lord will protect you, because I'm just about to step on you like I'd step on an ant? I'm a fortune teller, Prahlad, and I'm telling your future. In about 5 minutes, I'm going to pop you. I'm going to squash you. Of course, we all know the end of the story. Story spoiler, it was Hiranyakashipu himself that got bifurcated. It says that when Hiranyakashipu ripped apart Hiranyakashipu with his nails, it was like a little child poking a wasp with a straw. Anyway, in answer to the question, by whose power do you overstep my power to rule you? By whose power do you speak insultingly to me in front of all my followers? By whose power do you outstare me and cause me to blink? Prahlad says, Nakevalam me bhagatasya shabai badam badam share pare vare vishira brahmadya yana vishampadana. You're asking, Dad, by whose power I can stare you down? Well, the power that I have to stare you down comes from the same place that the power you have to conquer the universe comes from. It comes from the power that Lord Brahma has to create the universe, comes from the same source. The power that Lord Shiva has to destroy the universe comes from the same source. The power that Lord Vishnu has to maintain the universe comes from the same source. One time Yamaraj's associates came back from the deathbed of Ajamil, having been frustrated, and they were looking at Yamaraj a little differently. They had given him their unquestioning authority in the past, thinking that he was God. After all, how would Yamaraj be able to administer the exact punishment in the exact portions for living beings if he was not omniscient? If Yamaraj did not know the entire history of every living being within this universe, then how could he fairly dispense justice for those living beings, give them the punishment that they deserve, and put them in exactly the right body according to the conscience of their past life, unless he was God? This was the reasoning of Yamadutas. But then when Yamaraj's order was counteracted by the Yamaraj had a standing order, not a specific order to take Ajamil, but he had a standing order that wherever there's a sinful person, go and drag him away for punishment. So they were following Yamaraj's standing order, but they were stopped from executing Yamaraj's order by the Vishnu Dutas, and the Vishnu Dutas appeared to have been sent by a higher power. It didn't really care for the power of Yamaraj. And so when the Yamadutas came back and they were kind of looking at Yamaraj in a less respectful way than they had in the past, Yamaraj says, Paro maranya jagarashantu shatado tam pratam patavat yatra visham. Yadamsa dosha astite janmanasha. Nashiravad yashavate charuka. Up until now, you've regarded me as the supreme. But I'm telling you factually that I'm not the supreme. Actually, my power, as well as the power of Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu, comes from the power of Lord Krishna. He is like the two threads that make a cloth. Those threads may be invisible in light of the whole cloth, but those threads go horizontally and vertically, and that cloth is nothing more than those two threads. And so the thread on which I rest, on which Brahma rests, on which Vishnu rests, on which Shiva rests, Indra, Chandra, is Lord Krishna. He is the only source of power, and whoever else has power gets it from Krishna. So Prahlad puts it right back at Hiranyakashipu. He says, my power, source of my power, is also the source of your power as well. And then Hiranyakashipu, he kind of, in a sense, sees the writing on the wall. He kind of knows that he's this boy, he cannot get the best of this boy. He's tried everything. He's going to go throw him off a cliff. He's going to give him poison. He's going to put him in fire. He's going to put him with cobras, try to get a war elephant to crush him, administer him poison. And yet he's already seen. The reason this boy is fearless, this 5-year-old boy is fearless against his father, a vicious, lethal materialist. Hiranyakashipu, again, he's no dummy. He's a smart guy. So he's already seen his own death. He has to kind of play this out, because right now his whole position is on the line. If he can't do something about this disobedient son, the waters are going to come through the hole in the dam, and he's going to lose everything. One way or another, he's going to lose everything. And so in a sense, he's saying, okay, if I submit to this boy and allow Vishnu worship to penetrate my kingdom, then everything's done anyway. Everything I've worked to for the last 40, 50 years is finished anyway. And if I try to kill this boy, I can see that his fearlessness is because he is, in fact, following the orders of someone much more powerful than me. And so if I continue to persecute this boy, then his Lord is going to appear before me, and I'm going to be finished. So he has a choice. He's finished one way or another. But he says, well, if I'm going to get killed, I might as well see this Lord. I'd rather die knowing who this mysterious Lord, if he comes out and faces me, then that will be interesting. You know, I'm not anybody to run away from a challenge. And as opposed to just losing my influence and being castrated and betrayed and stabbed in the back, and talked against and demeaned, why don't I just go ahead and try and kill this boy. I know that I won't be able to kill him, and I know that I will be killed in his place, but it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. After all, I'm kind of bored anyway. Nobody will stand up against me. There's nobody worthy of a good fight. I've conquered everybody. I've enjoyed women. I've enjoyed power. I've enjoyed intoxications. I've enjoyed tyrannizing the universe. I've enjoyed submit. The wind blows now when I call it. The elements, the seasons change by my orders. And to be honest with you, I've been wondering for some time what's next. And so this is going to be very, very interesting. So he says, aprami. It means, again, Vishnu is hidden. And yet his servant, even though the Lord is hidden, not visible, his servant seems to have unlimited power. And Prahlad, even though physically is much less than Hiranyakashipu, he is fearless. He is fearless against all of the tortures of his father, all the threats of his father. They run off him like water off a duck's back. Hiranyakashipu concludes, up to this point, Hiranyakashipu thought that he was the one who couldn't be killed. He had the boon from Brahma. He can't be killed in land or sea, inside the house or outside the house, by day or night, not by any weapon, not by any man or beast. And so he thought up until this point that he was immortal. But now it's dawning on him that there may be a loophole somewhere. He doesn't know what it is, but he says, just as this Lord is invisible, he's all powerful, he's invisible, he's full of contradictions. He doesn't comply with my stereotypical conception of a powerful warrior or king. He kind of eludes my ability to perceive him or conceptualize him. But it will be very interesting to see. He may have given me all those conditions, and at the same time left some sort of a loophole. And so, for the first time in a long time, Hiranyakashipu's lacking in self-confidence. He's not quite so sure of himself now as he had been, because consistently and persistently it seems like Prahlad knows something that he doesn't know. And so now it occurs to him for the first time that in this confrontation between him and Prahlad, it may actually come to transpire that in spite of his best efforts to kill Prahlad, it's going to be him who dies. He says, "No, you have resisted all of my power to control you. Mritu bhavad. Therefore, I think that the possibility is out there that I may be the one to die and not you." So, indeed, where does Prahlad's confidence come from? The Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, 31st verse, Kaunteya prajani myakti pranashati. Krishna says to Arjuna, declare it boldly that my devotee never perish. The Lord requested Arjuna to make the declaration because that is Arjuna's experience. For the Lord to declare it might seem a little boastful. There's also the fact that Krishna, for the sake of his devotees, will sometimes break his promises. We all know that although he promised not to take up a weapon during the Battle of Kurukshetra, he broke that promise in order to rush at Bhima with a chariot wheel in order to protect his devotees. So in the interest of protecting his devotees, Krishna sometimes forgets the promises that he's made. And therefore, because Krishna has this reputation sometimes of putting aside his promises in order to protect his devotees. In fact, let's put it this way. Krishna's main promise, Krishna's main focus, there's nothing more important to Krishna than protecting the devotees. And whatever else is out there is trumped when a devotee is in trouble, when a devotee is being harassed. All bets are off. Nirvaraya prashanti ashrashara pradada nishepi varorjitam. When Brahma and the demigods came to request Vishnu to intervene and to save the world from Hiranyakashipu. And they actually wondered why the Lord hadn't already come. Hiranyakashipu had done so many atrocities for so many years. People are starting to say, if there's a God, where is he? Why would God allow this to happen over such a sustained period of time? So Lord Vishnu explains what is his priority, what is God's priority. He says, I draw the line. He says, I give them latitude. Everyone has free will. I give them the freedom to misuse their free will. Apparently sometimes to such an extent and for such a long duration that people even begin to question my sense of fairness, my sense of righteousness. They begin to question whether I'm even involved in this material world at all. But know this. When he harasses my devotee Prahlad Maharaj, at that point, he's finished. I don't care about the benedictions of Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma has promised not this way, not this way, not this way, not this way. He says, if I can, I'll kill him by preserving those benedictions of Brahma. But if I can't, I'm just going to kill him anyway. And Lord Brahma can go pound sand. He says, I don't really care about what Brahma may or may not have promised Hiranyakashipu. But I promise that he will not get away with harassing my devotee. And later on, he says to Brahma, after he's killed Hiranyakashipu, he says, Maivam vibhusanan prajya para parakoranasana. He tells Brahma, he says, okay, I took care of you this time. You owe me. You went way out of line giving him all those benedictions. But that's okay, because I'm always ahead of you and everybody else in terms of intelligence. Nobody can outthink the Lord. Nobody can out-cheat the Lord. The Lord will always find a way. Where you don't see a way, the Lord will always find a way. It seemed like Lord Brahma had locked the universe into tyranny, despotism. It seemed like Lord Brahma had given Hiranyakashipu a boon, which gave him free rein to misuse power and torture and make all of the living beings miserable. But no matter how great an intellect Lord Brahma has, Krishna will always be out there in front of him. Krishna will always be able to outthink. Krishna is, you want to cheat? Krishna is a bigger cheater. Krishna is a better cheater. And so, although Hiranyakashipu's path, because he identified with this body, he chose the door of this material body, and he had to fight and conspire and suffer and dominate, and torture, and intimidate, just in order to maintain his own bodily well-being, his own bodily so-called security and comfort. And yet we know that the body itself is doomed. Jatasya hui durmumvitir, nobody who was ever born did not die. So putting your efforts, your energy into this material body, trying to create a comfortable material situation in this material world is counterproductive. And so Prahlad Maharaj always had the best interest of his father and his relatives in mind when he said, Tatsado mane suryavadina sadasamina hidbadmagramganam banangado yadaram. He said, Father and all of your relatives, you've taken the wrong path. Because you've chosen to identify with this body, you can't understand the sublime science of Krishna consciousness. You can't understand, you can't see how it is that the Lord is in the smallest, how it is that the Lord is great. And neither can you have a relationship with that Lord who exists separate and apart from this material world and who invites us back to home, back to Godhead, invites us to approach him by calling his holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Prahlad Maharaj, with all of his compassion and mercy, he appeals to his father. He says, please, you've just chosen a path of anxiety, that's all. It's like you've fallen in a dark well in the middle of the forest and nobody is going to come and help you. No matter how many hopes you have in material accumulation and acquisition, you're on your own. You're on your own. You work hard for your family and your relatives. You commit crime and sins to support them, to maintain them in a lifestyle or a standard of living to which they're accustomed. But in the end, you just die alone and you go to hell alone. And all those sinful activities that you perform, all that money and wealth that you've accumulated, that is the purchase price of your ticket to go to hell. So Prahlad Maharaj appeals to his father, Hitba Dharamgate, please give it up. Give it up and go to the forest and worship Lord Krishna. Give up the path of anxiety, fearfulness, and destruction. Accept the path of bliss, eternality, and knowledge in the service of the eternal Lord Sri Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That concludes. We talked about the fearlessness. We gave 3 examples this week. We took Dhruva Maharaj on Monday. We took Vasudev on Tuesday. We took Prahlad Maharaj on Wednesday. And next Monday, we'll talk a little bit about Maharaj Parikshit and his fearlessness in the face of death as well. Rob, do you have any droplets to give us at the end here?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for this lecture and class. I'd only hope...
You're muted. Can't hear you. Oh, wait a minute. I think I'm muted. Yeah, I'm sorry. Could you repeat that for my benefit? I had my volume down. Sorry.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, and thank you for this class and lecture. I was just going to say that I can only aspire to be as obstinately faithful as Prahlad.
You mean you want to be impudent?
That would be wonderful if it means I'm more like Prahlad.
But I think today we actually, it's easy to kind of dismiss Hiranyakashipu. I've seen on Google Images, I've seen him with a big fat belly and a mustache, and all this kind of stereotypical stuff. But he was actually a pretty sharp guy. His problem was that he had chosen a path, and he was he had followed with determination. He got to where he was by being true to his path. And he's just not gonna, he's gonna go with what he knows. He's just not willing to change at that stage of his life. So you can understand that in a sense he's a tragic figure. You can have a little bit of empathy for him, and in the end he got liberation. So, yay! All right, thanks for joining us, Janatari. Bye, Bobby. Pranams, Brent. Hari Hari Bol. Jay, good morning. Manasa Ganga, good morning. Anjali, postman, delivering a letter in your box this Wednesday morning. She put a very complicated emoji. I'll have to look at that. What does that emoji mean, Anjali? It moves too when I put the cursor over it. It kind of dances. Is it like kirtan? Anyway, explain that to me. Yes, the Utah rehabs are a shiny penny. Very expensive rehab programs. Anjali says, yeah, a materialistic parent would rather their son be out 11 o'clock at night, God knows where, than safely in bed in a Hare Krishna temple. No parent likes impotence on the part of their children, much less someone who's used to being kowtowed to like Hiranyakashipu. Yes, and we had some not entirely complimentary words to say about the people who say religion is an individual private affair also. Jean, thanks for joining us. Yes, Anjali says that Prahlad embarrassed in public his father. Nobody wants to be embarrassed in public, especially in front of your followers. Harvey the rabbit, Shukshma says. She thinks the listeners may be too young to know that one. Oh my gosh. Govinda Dev, Hare Krishna, John Malik. Yes. Come back, home back to God. Anjali lives up to her reputation as the queen of comments. We're going to have a record number of comments today, and at least 50% of them are going to come from Anjali, our super champion. John Malik says, stay in faith. Material life is temporary, but spiritual life is eternal. Exactly like. Fearlessness is the first of all devotional qualities listed in the Bhagavad Gita. Thank you. So if you go to the list of devotional qualities in the Bhagavad Gita, fearlessness was the first one. I'm glad we spent nine segments on it, and we're going to do at least one more next Monday too. Janatari says, she says, the Prahlad Leelas are some of my favorite, and I've been waiting all week for this class. Prahlad's story is amazing. It's amazing. I mean, Dhruva Maharaj's father was indifferent. Vasudev was tortured by his brother-in-law, Kamsa. But Prahlad was tortured by his father. You know, there's a lot more intimacy between the father and the son. And therefore, there's a lot more disappointment on the part of the father when the son doesn't live up to his expectations, you know. I know my father was military, and he actually grew up during World War II, so his brother and sister went to college. Oh, anyway, this is a long story, and it's already 8:20. You don't want to hear this at this point in time after we've already been going for almost an hour. I'll save it. You know, every story comes up sooner or later. You just have to be persistent. Tune in. Janatari said Hiranyakashipu's backstory is interesting. How he came to be in that body, as various incarnations, interactions led him. Yes, definitely a lot behind the scenes. A lot behind the scenes. Well, thank you. It is, gosh, we've spent an hour. Time has gone very quickly because we've enjoyed and learned from it. Any other final second time, Rob? Anything else occurred to you?
No, Prabhuji, but I do appreciate all the comments that were made.
Great. Well, thank you. And I know that one of our members is going to LA Rath Yatra, Joshua Thomas, is going to drive down to LA Rath Yatra this weekend. I really don't know what their plans for streaming it are, going on Facebook Live, but it'll start around 11 o'clock Saturday, which will be noon our time. And it will arrive at the Venice Pavilion around noon. And then there'll be all afternoon, there'll be entertainment on two stages. There'll be yoga, there'll be vegetarian feast and all. So I don't know if they're going to officially stream it live. As far as I know, they haven't done that in the past. But individuals undoubtedly will be streaming it on Facebook. And so if you can't go physically, try and catch some of it after the Festival of Colors in Spanish Fork, Utah. The LA Rath Yatra in Venice Beach is the second biggest spiritual festival in America. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.